for joining us again on another episode of the In the Game interview series. Today we've got Dr. Jason Hamil with us. Jason, thanks for taking some time to sit down and speak with us.
Yeah, Reed, thanks for having me, man. I'm excited about this little project you have going on.
Yeah. So why don't you take some time and give us your playing background and some of the stops along your coaching background and some of the roles that you're in now.
Yeah, so I grew up. I played goalkeeper. I played at Riverside High School in upstate South Carolina. I played 2 years and a little bit more as a goalkeeper at Lander University. And then I moved to Charleston to student teach and kind of got on coaching at the high school that I was student teaching at. And then once I graduated, I had one additional stop. And then I've been at my current position as the head coach for Academic Magnet Boys Varsity Soccer since 2004. So that's kind of my little bit of playing and then into coaching.
Yeah. So you're obviously a doctor now, so that's new for you, right?
Yeah. So that it was a long process. It was a fun process. I don't think I would say that I would ever go through that process again. But earning a doctorate in sports management with the classes and stuff that went into it was really exciting. Lots of real world stuff. I was able to go through the United States Sports Academy, so it was all online and just a lot of good stuff. And then I defended my dissertation last November.
Very nice. Yeah, I got to obviously we've got to know each other through working camps and all up and down the East Coast and down in Georgia a little bit this past summer. So I got to see a little bit of your research. You were able to share some of that stuff with me. Why don't you share with us what your actual topic was for your doctoral research and how you were able to do it?
So I wanted to do something that was extremely practical for me, also a passion, but then also something that I could turn around and be able to give that framework to other coaches to kind of help them out. So as I kind of got into it a little bit, I saw a lot of things that were out there assessing player motivation, but it was only assessing player motivation at one point during the season. So what I wanted to do was to be able to see how and if player motivation changes as the season progresses, and then be able to go back in and tie some of those changes in kind of retrospect, go back and tie some of those changes into first and foremost, important events in the season, wins, losses, things like that. And then also kind of tie it into the 5 stages of team development. And so the official title of my dissertation was how the motivational factors of high school soccer players change as the season progressed.
Sounds good. And I think that it's extremely applicable. Obviously, you guys have had quite a bit of success there at Academic Magnet over the last couple of years. I think it's five state championships now at this point.
Yep, 5.
So 5, and you've been a regional coach of the year a couple of times as well in the Southeast region, right?
Yeah, so I have two of those. I have a handful of state coach of the years, and then in 2015, that was kind of one of the biggest years for some of the awards and stuff. I was also the Athletic Coaches Association State Coach of the Year, and also what is now United Soccer Coaches. I was their State Coach of the Year in 2015 as well. So we've been able to build a successful program. And then, again, when we talk about motivation, going back to make sure that, are we, am I and is my coaching staff, are we meeting the motivational needs of the players as the season goes?
What were some of your biggest takeaways when you finished up your research? What were some of the biggest results that you were surprised by?
So what we did was we gave a questionnaire, and it was 30 questions. I actually have it right here. And so we gave that questionnaire 4 different times, and it was early season, mid-season, postseason, and off-season. And then it's 30 statements, and you rank them 1, 2, or 3. Very important, somewhat important, not important at all. And then the kids all had a different code. There was tons of, maintain anonymity, all that kind of stuff. And so then at the end, we basically figured out how the statements ranked as the team as a whole. And then again, like I was saying, we go back in and we take those results and then tie them back into, what happened during those times that we administered the questionnaire. So one of the biggest takeaways for me was, everybody always talks about, okay, like having fun, winning, and being on a team and the social aspect. Like, okay, those were 3 of the top 4. However, for my team, the number 2 most important statement was I like to be physically fit. And so one of the things that I took away from that is that as a coach, if I use fitness appropriately, maybe not as a deterrent or anything like that, but just use fitness appropriately, not only is it not detrimental, but it was actually a very high motivating factor, is the number 2 overall statement for the season. A couple of the other things I found that were pretty interesting is that in that mid-season transition, we saw a drop in enjoyment, in a pretty substantial drop in the statement. I enjoy what I'm doing, or something like. And a couple of things that we found during that time was we had a loss to our rival team the night before we issued that questionnaire the next day. And also, when you look at the 5 stages of team development, we were kind of in that spot where, we had kind of settled into a sub-rotation. We had kind of established, okay, we have our starting 11, we have our next 4 or 5 off the bench. And so some of those players that were getting playing time early on, when we were trying to sort things out, like everybody was excited to play because everybody was getting playing time. Well, now you got a couple of kids that are only getting a handful of minutes who aren't playing at all. Mm-hmm. And so, like, how do you keep them involved? And again, the methods of that are like individual to the coaches. For me, it was just finding out that, okay, yes, once we start establishing roles on the team, then in fact, those kids their role develops into a reserve player or maybe even a practice team player. Like, yes, their enjoyment and their excitement is going to drop pretty substantially. Mm-hmm. So how do we keep them involved so that we benefit the team?
Yeah.
And then the other one that I found that was really interesting is there's a statement on here that says, I want to be with my friends. And last year when we gave it, we had 7 seniors that had kind of grown up in the program together. And I don't know who answered what, again, because they were coded and things like that. But the statement, I like to be with my friends, was the number 1 statement in the off season. So the off season questionnaire was administered at our end of the season picnic, which was obviously like kind of the last team event, the last time we find each, like we are wrapping things up. And so looking back, that, kind of those friendship things, there's a lot of studies and a lot of research that differentiate between like males and females and things like that. But for my team, which was a boys team, like that friendship and that team aspect was still very motivating throughout the course of the year.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure you can think back to teams that you played on, and you still talk to some of those guys, and you'll always have that bond because of some of the experiences that you go through together as being a part of the team.
Yeah, and I think it's having gotten, I've been an academic magnet since 2004 now, and when we have our alumni game and then the alumni, we go out for lunch afterwards, and like some of those moments that you're talking about there is, like moments that I share with those kids from a coaching and a playing side, and just trying to remember and going back and like, hey, I remember like this one play that you made in a game. It was some random, and the kids, like, that keeps even the alumni motivated. But then when kids on the current team hear me talk about, well, this Coach Hamil remembers this moment from this kid. So like they get the feeling, and they know that I'm like invested in it, and that kind of keeps them motivated as well.
Yeah, I think the high school environment is a lot more like a college environment from a coaching perspective than I would say the club environment is, just because of the hours that you get to spend with your players. And obviously, teaching in the district, obviously you teach younger kids, but you're still connected through them. And you see some of those younger kids go all the way through and become players for you as well, I'm sure.
Yeah, I've probably had maybe like 12 to 14, something like that. Kids that have gone to middle school. I teach middle school PE. And so they've come through me 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, and then they've played for me for 4 years. And so like those stories are always cool as well. Just it doesn't happen all the time, but obviously like when it does, it is a pretty cool feeling. We have one kid on the team right now who's in that situation, and it's a cool little bond,
Yeah, for sure. Please tell me you make the middle schoolers call you Dr. Hamil.
It's Dr. Coach Hamil. Everybody else in the building is Dr. Hamil, but the kids, Dr. Coach, whatever, man. But it is cool to have that title.
Yeah, you earned it. You might as well use it, right?
Yeah. You just got to throw the doctorate around every once in a while,
Yeah. So you've obviously been at Academic Magnet for quite a while. You've also worked with Soccer Plus for quite a while as well. How did you get involved with Soccer Plus?
So, long story long. My mom taught swimming through Furman University and through their continuing ed department. And when I was kind of a kid growing up playing soccer, I started going to their camps when John Tart was the coach there, and he had Soccer Plus come in, goalkeeper specific camp when I was about 12 or 13, somewhere right in that age range. And so went to Soccer Plus as a camper, and then they didn't come back to Furman. And then Coach Tart then brought on Bill Steffen, who is now Dr. Bill Steffen, and he started running the goalkeeper stuff there. Well, Bill's background was all through Soccer Plus and NSCAA and things like that. And so then when I got to the point that I realized that I'd like to start working some camps as a summer job, I contacted Bill, and he put me in touch with Soccer Plus, and that was 1999. I took a year or two off when I went to get my my national diploma. Trying to think of my national diploma. I took a year or two off and then came back in the 2000-ish, and I've been with them ever since. Yeah. And so, and then Bill was actually the chair of my dissertation committee. So his doctorate being in sports psychology, it worked out pretty well because mine's got some sports psychology aspects to it as well.
Yeah, Bill's a great guy. I've listened to quite a few of his presentations, and I got to take one of my goalkeeping courses with him as well. That was a great. Well, it was a 2-day course. That was a pretty informative 2-day course. I really enjoyed that one. Sorry, allergies are driving me nuts. So, how do you fit? Obviously, Academic Magnet, you guys kind of get kids from all over the place. What are some things that you try to do early on in the season to kind of get the team together?
I think it's just the way you kind of present things that, like, again, like just going back to some of what I found in the research, like whatever your role is on this team, you're on the team because we as the coaching staff, we feel that your role is important.
Mhm.
Now, whether you have a large role or a small role, that can differ a little bit. But even if you have a small role, that role is important, which is why we chose you for the team. We also have the way we structure tryouts. We go Monday through Thursday. We announce the teams on Friday, and then we practice on Saturday morning. And it's a little bit of a kick around, kind of a fun practice, but it's kind of like, okay, like, this year we had 50 something players try out, which is a large number for us. Not as large as some other schools, obviously, but for us, having north of 50 players is a lot to shuffle through. And so we decided, so that Saturday practice, like, okay, here's the group that we're going with. This year, we also decided to bring the JV team to that Saturday practice just to try to keep everybody, it's not like varsity exists over here and JV over here. No. We're all, like, again, you're on the JV team because we anticipate you being able to produce at the varsity level at some point. It could be later this year. It could be next year. It could be 2 years from now. But that's why you're here as well.
Mhm.
And so, again, I think, just continuing to emphasize, like, if you're getting 7 to 10 minutes a half, like, that 7 to 10 minutes is valuable because the guy you're going in for can't run for 40 minutes. Like, there are very few 40-minute players at the high school level in our area. And so, and then getting that kid who comes off, getting him to understand that, hey, we can bring you off and have a break because we have this kid to go in for you.
Yeah.
And so, again, just making sure that everybody understands that that the role is important. It's just the size.
Mhm. Yeah, I think that that's super important. The buy-in from the players is obviously, if you don't have that, then it's very, very difficult to get anything done for sure.
Yeah, and it's just, coaches can read their own team, but again, it's better to stay ahead of that than fall behind it. If you get to a point where you've kind of fallen behind and you've, like, again, going back to some of the stuff that I found, like, if the middle of the season you start losing those bottom roster kids, then that can create some infighting in the team and things like that can derail you, like, when you really need to kind of be, like, gearing up, middle of the season towards the end of the season, you're gearing up for that postseason run. Well, you don't, at that point, you don't want to be trying to go back and get those, those bottom roster kids back on board with things.
Mhm. Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think that that's super important. You gotta be united as a group for sure. What's so how have you seen, with you being there so long, how have you seen the culture there kind of change throughout the continuing growth of club soccer?
I think our kids, I think our kids, they enjoy the club aspect, but there's just something different. I feel there's just a different feeling with high school, and even though we're a district, so we have kids that come from all over the district, but we have one central school, and we have our home field, and we have like we are going to if we're the visiting team, like, we're going to another school, like that kind of mentality that you don't necessarily get at the club level. If you're playing, obviously the club teams have the ability, to pull kids from wherever. I think that helps the high school side a little bit. I also think the high school side helps the club side a little bit with giving them that, whatever kind of, like, badge or logo you're wearing, like, you're playing for that.
Mm-hmm.
Whether that's your club badge or your high school logo, or a crest or a shield or something like that. I think that kind of association is built very strongly at the high school level. And then again, if you're not bought in, you're not going to be motivated and you're not going to perform well. So again, you know, I think that's one area where the high schools kind of help the club a little bit. You know, I'm representing my club patch, my club shield this, you know, in the fall season. And then that's kind of developed a little bit the high school, because you have the building and home field and more things that are quote unquote yours that you're defending, or however you want to put it.
Yeah. No, I think as a college coach, I'm a big proponent of kids playing with their high school teams. You know, obviously we want kids playing at that highest club level as well, but you know, it's playing for your high school team is just such a different experience. You know, getting to play in front of your peers that you're with every day in the classroom, and them getting to see you.
Yeah.
And getting to play under the lights for most high school programs, it's something that you don't get to do a lot in the club game.
Yeah, and I think, you know, just some of the other aspects that you can get with the high school programs a little bit, that just differ with club. You know, there's different experiences that you get at the club level that you're not going to get at the high school level, and vice versa.
Mm-hmm. For sure. So what are some things that you're trying to continue to do for yourself right now through the pandemic to continue to develop yourself as a coach?
I think it's just trying to, you know, obviously there's really no games on or anything, so it's just you know, watching some YouTube stuff, and you know, just kind of, they came out yesterday. The high school league canceled our spring season yesterday morning. So now for me, it's kind of making that transition from, you know, there was a little bit of hope that maybe we could come back and have like a 3 or 4 week season. So we were still kind of planning for that. And now obviously we kind of make the transition. So, you know, kind of looking at, you know, kind of evaluating myself as a coach and figuring out like what my strengths and weaknesses are. I don't coach a club team. I work with youth goalkeepers. So again, trying to figure out, okay, you know, this area is a strength, this area is a weakness. How can I improve that weakness through, you know, through some YouTube videos and just talking with other coaches and things like that.
Yeah, I think I've spent more time on YouTube in the last 3 weeks than probably in the last 3 years.
Yeah.
Between learning how to publish stuff, starting this series, and just trying to find some other things for myself. I have to talk to my 8-year-old son about it because he's always on YouTube watching stuff anyway. So obviously you've been in the game for quite a while. Who are some of your obviously you've talked about Bill Steffen. Who are some of your other coaching mentors?
I mean, ironically enough, it's just, I mean, Bill was really the biggest one, like on the goalkeeper side, on the, you know, kind of on the field player side of things. It's really, I didn't necessarily have like a, you know, I guess a coaching mentor on the field player side. It was a little bit more, when I got to Academic Magnet, it was me and another guy, and we were coaching all 4 teams, boys and girls, varsity and JV. And so it was me kind of running stuff on my own, and a little bit of just kind of, you know, trial by, not fire, but, you know, trial by error, you know, like, hey, let's try this. That didn't work. All right, water break, and come back and try it again, you know, look at my plan. All right, well, we got to modify the plan. I would say some of my biggest influences actually come from the camp setting. I would say like definitely Carlos Osorio is somebody that I kind of watch and look at his coaching points and how he makes it and when he starts and stops things. I tell people all the time the 2 best years I ever had for club soccer when I played were with Carlos. I would also say the amount of time and the amount of time in camps that I've worked with Paul McGinty. And just, again, you know, normally I'm standing in goal, evaluating the goalkeepers, but also trying to watch some of those veteran coaches and what they do, and when they start and stop play, and how do you set up the training session? Is it how often do you give the water breaks? Like just things like that. I just try to um, I try to pull stuff from just really anybody that I watch coach.
Mhm. Yeah, I've been lucky enough to work a couple of camps with both Carlos and Paul as well, and they're both very good coaches.
Yeah, so that it's one of the things that I enjoy about working camp. Is just kind of being able to share ideas with a lot of people that you normally wouldn't cross paths with on a daily basis. Even though we're all in the soccer community, like working the Duke camps and the Georgia camps with you, and then some of the other people that we meet there. And then again, just crossing paths with all those guys and girls that you wouldn't normally cross paths with.
Yeah, I mean, if you really think about it, with you kind of coaching more on the guy side and me being a women's college coach, without the camp environment, we probably don't meet.
Yeah.
So, I think that's just another way to continue to kind of build those relationships that are so important in this game.
Yeah, and again, you just like cultivating those, and again, like asking questions, and and I just like observing other coaches set up training sessions, and kind of seeing like what is their progression, things like that. So
it's a huge tool for sure.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to young coaches?
Ironically, it's kind of what I just said. Is like just like always be looking to learn. Like you don't have to like actively like seek it out and like ask questions, but watch other sessions, watch the coach in games, watch the opposing team's coach. I hate having in our home stadium, we don't have it set up where the teams are on the same side. I hate it. I don't need to hear what that guy's saying. But if you're, even for me, like as the game's going on, I'll glance over and see what the other coach is doing. Like, how is his team responding to what he's doing? Like, is he a yeller? Is he a screamer? Is he a constant coacher? Like, is he coaching every single play? And then how is his team responding to that? And then, how is our team responding at that point? But for younger coaches, like, it's watch the mannerisms of the coach, watch his body language, watch, when something's going wrong with his team, how does he respond? And then how does the team respond to his response? If there's a big controversial play and he blows up and starts yelling and his team turns around, well, that's working for their team. And you can kind of take those kinds of things and toy with them a little bit with your own team. I would also say, just kind of based on knowing my own team, but then also based on the research that I did last year, is, don't be set in stone. Like you got to be willing to motivate differently at different times of the year. You may need to motivate differently player to player, obviously, and you may need to be able to motivate differently from year to year. Next year's team, especially at the high school level, and the college level as well, where you have limited eligibility years, next year's team is going to be different than this year's team, and how, be willing to be flexible, like within your own coaching style, be willing to kind of like move up or down just a little bit to adjust to the kids that you're coaching.
Yeah, I think that it can be very easy to kind of fall into a routine as a coach and just kind of do what you feel comfortable with, but it's really not about our comfortability. It's about the players' comfortability and making the best environment for them,
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with like stepping on the gas pedal every once in a while, but take your foot off the gas every once in a while. Then be willing to, it doesn't have to be, all or nothing or 0 to 100, whatever kind of cliche you want to throw out, but like if you feel your team needs a little bit, a little bit of a push, go ahead and push in an appropriate manner. But then if you push too much and they start pushing back, then that creates conflict.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's something that I, as a coach, have learned the hard way at times. But at least I learned the lesson eventually.
Yeah, and they always talk about like they always talk about like teachers like self-evaluating and reflecting and things like that. And I mean, it is a real thing. Not that you're going to go home and like write a journal entry every night if that's not your thing. But hey, when I'm driving home from practice, I live about 35 or 40 minutes from our stadium. So when I'm driving home, I mean, I put on some music and just kind of think like, hey, what went well with that practice? What went bad? Yep. I encourage the kids to do the same thing. And then you have, you have a nice kind of like moment when you get home that you can kind of put that behind you and then move on, and you make changes moving forward. We talk about it especially with big wins and big losses, like how do you handle that and manage it? And I think that's one of the things, you take that time on your ride home to have a little bit of reflection. Like, why did we play well? Why did you play well? Why did you not play well? And I do that. Just going back to the fitness thing is I've never believed in using fitness as a punishment, because everybody on the team needs to be fit. Everybody needs to be fit at generally the same level, of fitness, obviously different types and things like that. But if the issue in the game for us was possession, and we come out the next practice and run, 10 120s, well, that wasn't our issue. Our issue was possession.
Yeah.
So unless it's like a preseason or something like that where you have, but now if our issue is fitness, then we need to come out the next, couple of weeks and really hammer home some fitness.
Yeah.
And again, based on what I found with my team is that kind of, that generated some credence last year, that they want to be fit, but they don't want fitness to be used as a punishment. So again, like, going back with the younger coach thing, like, hey man, like always reflect, always saying like, hey, could I have taken that water break 5 minutes earlier to reset the cones? Could I have, should I have put the balls in a different position to help the drill run a little bit more smoothly? How can I involve the goalkeeper? Like, goalkeepers are people too. Like how can I involve the goalkeeper in this drill so he's not just over there by himself if you don't have a goalkeeper trainer?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's something that the goalkeeper piece and how quickly you can get them into a session, that's something that in the club environment that is I've always really tried to alter my activities when I do my club stuff, because it's not like they're doing keeper training during my session. They're literally, my keeper he's in with our technical work, and then he's got a couple of minutes to get his hands ready, and then he's in with us. So, it's always a tricky concept whenever you're by yourself, for sure.
Yeah. And I think, sometimes I'll be pretty honest with our goalkeeper, because we had a goalkeeper trainer working with our high school team, but only one day a week. Now we were lucky that we had a goalkeeper trainer at the high school level. Yeah. But I sometimes I would tell our goalkeeper, hey man, like today's going to be a big like technical with your feet, which kind of worked because he wasn't the greatest with his feet, so he needed that anyways. But just trying to think about, again, talking about like that reflection thing is like, oh man, like I really didn't get the goalkeepers involved as I should have today. Like how could I adjust that? How could I adjust that drill to add the goalkeeper?
Yeah. Well, awesome, Jason. Well, really, really appreciate you taking some time to talk with us today, and hopefully we're able to actually get out and do some camps this summer.
Yeah, man, still holding out hope for that. So definitely hoping to cross paths again this summer, man. I appreciate you having me. I enjoyed doing this. I thought it was a lot of fun, man.
Yeah. Sounds good. We'll talk soon, Jason.
All right, cool. All right, thanks, Reed.